You are watching or listening, whichever your preferred method of being entertained is here at the Odyssey Files. I'm your host, Michael O'Neill. With me tonight is the great Samuel Albus. Good evening, Sam.
Good evening, Michael. It's nice to be back on the show. Thank you for inviting me back.
Absolutely. You did an amazing job last time, and as a fill-in for Dave, you are more than welcome.
Awesome.
Any time, but not any time, because anytime Dave's gone.
Yeah,
you're more than welcome.
Sure. I'm not going to take over for Dave.
You're right. So on that front, I have an amazing announcement for everybody. If everything goes according to plan, so you know that if Sam's back next week, it did not go according to plan. But Dave is expected to be back next week. So hopefully trudging forward, it will be back to the grindstone, back to the Odyssey Files of old with myself and Mr. Sawyering. So watch for that, but that does not mean that in the coming weeks you will not see other co-hosts and yourself, Sam, depending on your schedule, obviously.
Yeah, for sure.
If there's anything that all you guys on my team has shown me is that you have lives and I do not. So because it's always like, if we get an investigation and I'm like, okay, let's schedule this, it's got to be like a month and a half out. Otherwise, at least one, if not two or three of you, it's like, no, I'm out of town that weekend, or I'm busy that weekend, or I got plans this weekend. Even Scott should have less of a life than I do. And even he's like, well, this weekend I'm busy. So I'm just, whatever.
I mean, Scott doesn't have to go to a job. So I think objectively he has less of a life because you go to a job, Fair. Scott is retired. So he, weekends is when everybody else can do stuff. So that's when Scott does stuff with other people. But if he wanted to meet with people in the middle of the week, he could do that because he doesn't have any other obligations because he's retired.
Scott doesn't have any other people except us. At least he shouldn't.
He shouldn't. We should have a monopoly on all of Scott Shea's time.
We should have a monopoly on everybody's time. Like, it should just be us, and that's it. You guys just don't have any
unpaid internships for everybody.
I try. I try to reimburse you guys in other ways, but yes, everybody's on this team because they want to be. They have volunteered to be. And I cannot be more appreciative or honored to have each and every one of you be. Well,
you'll be happy to know that there won't be any Fix the Glitch shows getting in the way in another couple months because we are dissolving, unfortunately.
What?
So, yeah, we are.
I asked you before the show, is there anything that you would like to talk about? You're like, no, everything's pretty good.
Well, I mean, I don't remember to talk about that. Oh, you reminded me. Scheduling conflicts reminded me of shows, which reminded me, we're playing a couple more shows, but for the foreseeable future, Fix the Glitch will not be performing. Doesn't mean we won't come back, but everybody's got lives. James, our singer, has 2 kids now, so not a lot of time for that sort of thing. My brother is entering a new kind of phase in his life, so he's kind of focusing on his relationship and his job because he's finally getting level footing. So there's a lot of factors. And, we've been doing this for almost 5 years now. So, we've done a lot of stuff. We've made a lot of friends, made an impact in the community. And we're all in a good place for it to kind of just go on the back burner for a little bit because, well, we all have lives. we're not trying to make, a career out of being musicians. Otherwise we'd be going way harder than we have been in the last, 5 years. So yeah, but it's bittersweet. It's kind of sad, but it is what it is, and we'll all move on to bigger and better things. And I'll have more time to give to the team.
I even said that at our team meeting a couple of weeks ago. I'm like, each and every one of you, I know you have your lives, you have your personal lives, and you have your other friends and whatnot. And the things that we do, I mean, obviously over the course of the holiday season, we really didn't do anything. And that was like 3/4 by design. I mean, it was just, too busy. And any one of you could have been like, I'm too busy with lives, and I'm too busy with this and whatnot. And none of you have. And so, yeah, I am glad that this at least puts all of us in a position where we can continue to do what we love to do.
Yeah.
And that is help people and talk about the paranormal and do everything else, which segue. Oh, missed the segue. Speaking of talking about the paranormal, it's like how I did that.
That was so smooth.
I know.
So smooth.
The only thing that derailed it was my pointing it out. But
yeah, that's I think it would have landed a bit better if you didn't go, oh my God, that segue was so smooth.
Yeah, but the thing about the segue here in the show is that we always have to point it out. So just saying, okay. It's a tradition. Sure. It's a tradition, Sam. Get with it. So,
okay.
Wow, that was a little uppity, Sam. What's going on?
I'm doing a bit, Michael.
I completely understand. So, last week on my solo show, which I might add, has not done too terrible in in downloads. So go me on that one. Yeah, let me see.
Congratulations. People listen to this for you, at least partly. So
well, it can only be 50% at least, because it's either myself or Dave or myself or whoever else comes on. And so I would like to think that as long as I'm here, the show can remain alive. But anyway, getting back to talking about the paranormal. Last week on the show, I said how we had put out the request for our first presentation as Odyssey Paranormal Society with Sam here and myself and Lauren and Haley and Scott and Cameron at the Hennepin County Library in Brooklyn Park, Minnesota. That has now been confirmed. So our request has been approved. And so February 25th at, like I said, in the Hennepin County Library, if you're here in the Twin Cities area or around the Twin Cities area and want to drive for a little bit, you can come and see us 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. Although you might want to get there at 1 p.m. Otherwise, you're going to come in right in the middle of a presentation, and that's rude.
Yeah, it starts at 1 p.m.
Yeah, starts at 1 p.m. It's free to the public. Seating is limited. We did get a room that holds 60 people, so we're hoping if we, I don't want to say quote unquote sell out because we're not selling anything, but if we run out of room, that's an amazing thing. But we will be showcasing all of our best evidence and doing a Q&A with us, with the audience. So whoever wants to come and ask us questions, have at it. Anything that I don't want to say anything your heart desires, because then you're going to have the people that come and ask us something that's not paranormal. And so let's just your paranormal questions.
Yes, your paranormal questions. I think my favorite part of the last presentation that we did at the Leduc was the Q&A session at the end, because people could just ask us whatever was on their minds, which was very, very cool. So I hope we have a repeat of that in the next presentation. So why don't you come to Brooklyn Park and be a part of it? If there's anything you're curious about that you've always wanted to ask a paranormal investigator, that is your opportunity to talk to us face to face.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up the Leduc because in that Q&A, because they had some really, really good questions.
Yeah, they did.
Like it wasn't the typical, what's the weirdest thing you've ever seen? That like you would get all over the place. Like they had some really, really good questions. Like, why do I hate orbs?
That was a good question. For sure.
And I love answering it because I really hate orbs.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, we're still part of that bark.com, BARK, that every once in a while we'll send out like this person's looking for paranormal investigators.
Oh, okay.
And almost every time I get one of those and I scroll down and I look at, because they have a place for you to put like your claims or what's going on. And I'd probably say 75% of the time, the first thing that somebody writes in is orbs. And I'm like, you have a camera with an IR and you're seeing dust.
Yeah, right. It's like, yeah. Like, I guess if you're seeing orbs with a naked eye, that would be like something. But if you send an iPhone video or like your Ring light or Ring doorbell video of orbs, it's probably going to be dust, and we will tell you that it's dust, and then you'll probably get mad at us. But it's the truth. You can't handle the truth, as they say.
Well, yes, and surprisingly, that is the case. In fact, one of our stories tonight, well, it's actually not even really a story; it's more of a question, but it hits on that topic exactly. And I've got a story about that that I got or that I experienced when I was still a rookie. That still to this day, both kind of makes me chuckle and makes me angry at the same time. So, but we'll get to that. We'll get to that in stories. But beyond stories that we got to do, we got a great show for everybody this week. We have the great Will Conkel, who is a paranormal investigator out of Iowa, who is also the caretaker of a place that we have been to many times. Love this place. One of my first, in fact, I think it was my very first paranormal event took place at the Farrar Schoolhouse, which is in Maxell, Iowa, about 25 miles, I want to say, northeast of Des Moines, Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
He's been the caretaker there for many years. He now does the tours and stuff. And he's going to be joining us. He's going to talk about the history of Farrar, everything that is going on. I know I have questions because I think that, like most places that get popular, and when I was first there, this place was not popular. It almost was not even known to anybody. Now, like Kindred Spirits has been there. There's probably been a dozen quote unquote documentaries that have been done there. In fact, I think Ghost Stalkers was there as well.
Damn.
I know John
really getting recognition, huh?
I know John Tenney has been there, and he's part of Ghost Stalkers. I'm not sure if they had a show there though. But and I do think Destination Fear at some point, if not for the show in general, has been there. But yeah, so I mean, this place has gotten popular, and like I was saying, like most places, now you have to worry about actual history to made up myth, and made up stories. And I think that this is a prime example of that now, because it is much different now than the first time I was ever there. And we'll see. Because that was many years ago before the formation of Odyssey at all. So we're talking 8-9 years ago, something like that now.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to pick his brain about his time there and his perception of how it's changed as well.
Yes, exactly. And he's got a really cool little I don't even know how to phrase it, like a time slip gap thinger going on with him there. I don't think I've ever told you guys this, and I don't think he ever mentioned it during the tour. So it'll be interesting to hear if that is still going on, and just to hear it in general. But I'll let him tell it. So stories. I think I got some good ones tonight. We're going to have a lot of good, kind of discussions here. So story number 1. I'm experiencing paranormal stuff at home. Guys, please help. And here's what they write. I feel so much like Casey Kasem, and I say it almost every week, but that's what it feels. And this is what she writes. I want to make it clear that I was a skeptic, but the last few weeks have changed me. So my paternal grandma passed away last year in January. About 10 days ago, my dad was supposed to have a puja, at least I think I'm pronouncing that right, Puja, for her death anniversary, but he had office work, so he didn't bother. Now, the thing that disturbed me begins. Last week, my mom woke up at 4 a.m. because of some sound in her room. Then she realized it was the sound of the key rattling in the room's lock. The lock in my mom's room is loose, so if you insert the key midway or just slightly in and mess around, it will create the same exact noise which she heard. The sound went on for 10 minutes. First, she thought she was dreaming or hallucinating because she just woke up, but she continued to hear it for 10 minutes. She tried calling me, but my phone was switched off. From that day, she burned incense sticks around the house, and it was fine. Yesterday, she didn't burn the agarbati. I never even heard of that kind of incense. She requested me to sleep in her room as she was really spooked and scared. Yesterday night at exactly 12:45 a.m., she woke me up. I was right beside her and said, "It's the noise again." And sure effing enough, it was that noise. It sounded like someone was inserting a key or something slightly in and rattling and messing around the lock with a purpose, trying to get in. I swear to God, it wasn't something from outside the window or any rats or anything. I clearly heard the lock being messed about. I heard it for about 1 minute. Then I said loudly to her to switch on the flashlight on her phone. She did, and I got out of bed and turned on the lights. As soon as I spoke, the noise stopped. I was shaking. My hands were shaking, and heart was pounding, and adrenaline was rushing through my body. I asked her whether I should get out of the room and turn on the lights, but she told me not to go outside. We slept with the lights on last night. Right now, it's about 3 hours before I go to sleep, and I don't know what's going to happen tonight. She lit the argabati tonight, so I'm hoping it will not happen again. Few things I should mention. My dad lives in another city, so me and my mom live alone. When my grandma died last year, we had the puja and the works done on the balcony of the same room me and my mom were sleeping in. My dad missed the death anniversary rituals. I didn't believe in all these rituals and puja and stuff, but I am literally questioning everything right now. I'm going to go to sleep in 3 hours, so God help us. I don't know what to do. Okay, and they also wrote an update. I slept with the lights on. Nothing happened. It seems that nothing happens if the argabatis are burned daily. I also taped the locks on the door on both sides. All right.
Not a bad solution.
Well, here's my thing. You have a rattling, what sounds like a key in the door, and that is it. You're not exactly like being threatened here.
Yeah.
I understand that it's, I don't want to say upsetting, but it's unnerving because you don't know what the hell is causing it, and that shouldn't be there. I got to say, probably thinking about that sort of thing, if I wasn't a part of the paranormal, I mean, I think my heart would probably start to pound a little bit.
Oh, yeah, no, that would be totally scary.
I don't know about scary, but
no, to a regular person, that is definitely scary. That's like horror movie stuff. Obviously, to us, we'd be like, "Huh, what is that?" But we're paranormal investigators.
Yeah, that's where we're like, "Go the F away!" And then you turn around and put,
I would open the door. I'd be like, "Who's out here? Who's doing that?"
So, but here's the thing that I want to point out. The whole point of me picking the story was not so I could be like, you're not in any danger. What's wrong with you? It's this. It's one, it really doesn't seem to be interacting with you in any way, which is like the key thing for residual. Now, what any incense is going to do, and then that's what it's supposed to do, especially sage, is calm the energy down. And so when you do that, when you burn that incense, whatever is triggering the residual energy is not going to have that foundation anymore. You're calming down, which is why it doesn't happen. But if you don't burn it, then that foundation can form, and you have that key, sound. And when you're turning on the lights, when you're, turning on your flashlights, when you're yelling at each other, you're changing the energy of everything that is going on as well. And so once that has changed, you're putting more into it, you're taking something away, that sound is going to stop, just simply because whatever was causing it is no longer in sync with each other.
Yeah.
So you can burn the incense if you want. It's not like you're keeping evil at bay, so you really don't need to worry about that. But if it makes you sleep better at night, burn it. You really don't need to sleep with the lights on. But hey, if that makes you feel more comfortable, have at it. But that's my take on it. And Sam, if you have anything to add, you can
Yeah, I think I just kind of want to double down, and I think I totally agree with you. My first instinct when I read this was this just sounds like something residual, especially if it's the only thing that's happening. So yeah, and I really like what you said about like changing the variables in the situation will change the energy and affect what is triggering what. So honestly, I think if you sleep with the door open, which you probably won't do, I don't think it will happen. If you burn the incense, I don't think it'll happen, So it just sounds like something residual, a former homeowner, a former landlord, whatever, and it's just playing that sound over and over. And if the door's not opening, if there's no voices, if there's nothing else past that, I really don't think there's anything you should be worried about. And I hope just two paranormal investigators telling you that will make you feel better about it. But I think it will be fine. But if you want to do things, if you want to burn the incense, if that's making you feel better and safer, then go ahead and continue doing that. Otherwise, if you're feeling brave, sleep with the door open, and see if it still happens. I doubt it will, because I think it's only going to trigger if the door is closed and the lights are off. So yeah, good luck with it, but I think it will be fine and everything will be okay.
Sounds good.
Okay, let's move on to the next story. Husband admitted to paranormal experience, looking for help, and any suggestions would be appreciated. For the last 6 months, I've been feeling a hand caress my calf about once a week. My husband has shaken this off by the fan and blanket, but I have assured him that wasn't the cause. Last week, I heard him walk down our creaky stairs, which I hear every day when he goes to work. No big thing. But it was a holiday and we were home. I always check my clock every time he does this, and it was almost 7 a.m. Later that day, I mentioned this occurrence, and he says it wasn't him. 2 days ago, I hear steps going down again, this time at 2 a.m., because I always check my clock. Again, not him. Today, he told me that he thought I came into his room around 11 p.m. last night and cuddled him to the point where he shook his left hand and said, "That's enough." He then reached over and felt nothing. This was from the wall side of his room. Not sure what that means. Neither of us have felt negative energy, if not more of a loving feeling from this interaction. What could it be, and how can we reduce interactions? We have a toddler. House built 1940s, one previous owner, Kentucky. This is definitely interesting because I can't remember the last time I heard of two people having similar experiences. Like usually it's like one, like either the husband or the wife or one of the partners is experiencing something and the other doesn't. Like for some reason the spirit attaches to one person than the other. But in this situation it seems like there's there's some sort of like affection towards both of the people in here. Um I'm not really sure why it would be happening. It sounds fairly intelligent to me. But then again, I don't really know. Um, but as of what could it be and how can we reduce interactions? If it is something intelligent, I think words carry a lot of power, especially with the energy you put behind it. So if you set hard boundaries and if it is indeed a spirit, if you talk to the spirit like it is a person, say, hey, I don't really appreciate when you do that. Our beds are our spaces, and you cannot cross that boundary when we're sleeping. We don't enjoy that. Uh, that's where I would start. But it definitely doesn't seem like it's anything that malicious, especially if you're not feeling a lot of negative energy from it. Um, but still, like you have a right to not want to be touched in the middle of the night in your own bed. So, yeah, I would start with just trying to draw a hard boundary and then you can go from there because chances are when you speak those words out loud and really put energy and really put resolve behind them, that's pretty powerful. So that's what I think.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that I would add here uh, is I find it odd that you and your husband obviously appear to be sleep that you sleep in different rooms. You don't sleep together because you're like, I went into my husband's room, and I don't understand that at all. But to each their own. Um, so the thing about this is, and I agree that there's, you felt not no negative energy. I mean, these easily may just be either one you picked up. I don't want to say so much an attachment, but an attraction. But both you and your husband have. So maybe it's a former. I have had cases where husband and wife, they lived in the house for 40 years or whatever, and then passed away. They're both there, and it could just be that if you guys are going through a tough time, maybe they feel you need a little TLC. You need to, maybe they feel like you need a hug. Maybe they feel like you need a reminder that there is somebody there who cares about you. So you definitely don't need any sort of clearing or anything like that. But I do love the fact that you put, how can we reduce interactions? Not like, how do we stop? How do we reduce it? I only want once a month to feel my calf, caressed, that
Oh
sort of
my
thing.
god.
So I'm just, the only thing that I would add to that, kind of with the last, the last story, you can burn sage. You can calm the energy down a little bit. That may stop them for a bit. I would make it clear that you're not doing it to get rid of them, because that would, those caresses may change to something a little bit more aggressive if you do
Yeah.
that. So I mean, I pretty much just agree with you. They definitely feel intelligent, especially since the husband was like, "That's enough," and then it stopped. They disappeared, or whatever. So yeah, I would just be like, "Look, we appreciate that you're here. We know you're here, but our room is our domain. Just please stop with, find some other way. If you want to show us that you care about us, or that you're worried about us, um, find another non-physical way of showing it.
Yeah, like do the dishes once in a while, wipe the counter when you're done using it. It's the little things. Be a good roommate.
I'm still waiting for the time when somebody says, I put my laundry down in the laundry room and then I got a phone call. And when I came back, the washer was going,
Yep.
That sort of thing. Be helpful.
My socks were all folded.
Yeah.
Just the worst part of doing laundry is having to pair up your freaking socks and then they magically disappear.
Or find my missing socks.
Yes. Tell me where the socks go. Bring the socks back from the
other
interdimensional portal where they go. Here's my theory. The washing machine produces enough centripetal force to open up a portal, and then the socks go through the portal to a different dimension.
You never know.
You never know.
I'm actually surprised with how many shows now that do the multiverse. And, especially with the multiverse of madness, like one of them, they were like just crayons or Crayola or something like that. I'm surprised that there hasn't been some sort of internal joke where they go and the whole world is just made of socks.
That would be actually funny.
That would be very funny.
That would be very funny, but I don't get behind all this multiverse stuff. It's getting like, wow, you're really trying to do something original, huh? Like maybe let's stop milking the Marvel thing. Whatever. I'm just not a big Marvel person, and I will get crucified for saying that, but
nah, not by me. So this is a safe place.
The general public, though, the normies will get after me.
The normies don't listen to this show.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's a good point.
We're safe. But yeah, so I think that's a fairly strong advice, is just speak up and let the spirits know what they can and cannot do. All right. I'm interested with this one because at first I thought it was just another Hatman story. So I was originally just going to, kind of toss it aside. But there was a comment that somebody made that I also kind of posted here as well that I'll read, that kind of brought up a new theory that I would like to throw out. So here's a story. My friend saw a black figure with a top hat. You're like, right there, you already know what the hell it is.
Yeah.
So when my friend was 11, he was in his bed trying to sleep, but he couldn't. Suddenly, he felt as if someone was with him there. Nobody was even remotely in the house that night. He poked his head out of his blanket and saw a black figure with a top hat sitting at the foot of his bed. The thing didn't do anything. It was just sitting there. My friend was scared shitless, and the figure was probably there for about 10 minutes when my friend went under his blanket and it disappeared suddenly. He still thinks about this encounter and doesn't know what it could have been. Maybe somebody can help here to specify what it was, please. Obviously, it's the Hatman, but
case closed, everybody.
Case closed. So, but that's not why I chose this one, because it was the Hatman. And people who've listened to the show for a long time know that Dave and I have talked about the Hatman a lot. We've dedicated entire.
You love the Hatman.
I love
the Hatman
because it is such an amazing figure. Like, honestly,
iconic for sure.
It's probably one of the most paranormal entities out there.
Ubiquitous.
Because it has been seen and encountered by thousands of people for decades.
Including my sister. My sister told me that she's seen the Hatman.
I did not know that. I'll be damned.
I didn't know that either. She told me like a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, gosh, damn. I didn't know you were having that. Like, that was the house that I was living in. Like, I didn't have any paranormal experiences like that. So, dang.
And you're just telling me this now. What's the matter with you?
I have ADHD. I forget things all the time.
Let's see. What's rule number, I don't know, is it 2, 3? One of those two? Speak up. You always speak up. But anyway, so here's the comment, and this is why I chose this. So somebody had posted about, their encounter. And then this person posted, he goes, I second this. I saw the Hatman several years ago. He was standing in my room, and other shadow people were going in and coming out of my bedroom mirror, which was in the room when my grandpa passed. It stared at me until I said something. Then all of them turned and stared at me. They all had huge, round, glowing red eyes. I laid there till I got really terrified, then turned over in bed and lay there away for a long time. Finally, I fell asleep. We sealed my mirror the next day.
Wait, what does that mean?
What do you mean?
What does sealing the mirror mean? Like, did they just like cover it?
No, there is. I actually had somebody do it here to all the windows, all the doorways.
So is it like a cleansing situation where you do like all four corners of it?
It's a little bit. I can't even. It was very quickly and half-assed explained to me, but there's. I don't want to say a ritual, but there's a way in which, and you mix like olive oil and like
that's a ritual,
like cleansing and pure type stuff together, and then you go around the entire seal, and you say like in love and light, nothing evil, blah blah blah. Yeah, you pretty much do something that just kind of seals it. And I don't want to call it a binding ritual because I don't think that that's what it is. But not many people know that they can do that, and even if they know they can, they don't know how. I don't even know how. Like I said, it was done.
By some olive oil and some sage, and then you can put it on there and then put it on some focaccia, as well.
Yeah, I could eat a sandwich, while I'm
sorry, everybody. I'm hungry all the time.
It's quite all right. But here's how here's why I chose this. And that is one of the things that nobody really understands. And Dave and I have speculated, and we've tried to come up with different theories as to what actually brings the Hatman to people. We've talked about lineage. Is there something in your bloodline, that either he fears or he wants to I don't want to say copulate, but he wants to support or bring forward? Is it psychic abilities? Does he see you as a threat, like the future, and kind of wants to change your path by scaring the living crap out of you by showing? Because one of the things that is probably one of the biggest patterns is he shows up when you're 5 or 6 years old. Between, I'd probably say 5 and 7 are almost always, I don't want to say almost always, but a lot of people, a good percentage of people always see him in those ages. They might see him later in life, but otherwise it's just that, and it sticks with them for forever. Like, they're 40 years old and they still remember that day like it was yesterday because it scared the living shit out of them. But now you have this where he just is kind of sitting there while these other shadow people, which he is considered to be like the quote unquote leader of, are coming in and out of this mirror. So I'm almost wondering if he's, I'm going to say protecting, but he's supervising like this gateway or something. He's trying to make sure that whatever is going on in that house goes smoothly. And then once either he's, I don't want to say scared away, but apparently if you say Jesus's name, they all disappear, or they either swear at you and then they disappear. But this story of him just kind of standing there is not, it's not rare at all. Almost all of them, like he almost never does anything. He's always just there.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And so the story just kind of brought to mind that maybe we have it all wrong and we just can't see maybe why he's there. Maybe there's something going on in the background that he's there to supervise and we just don't know it.
Yeah.
I don't know. What's your take on that?
So I don't know. I kind of have a theory formulating in my brain. Um, like maybe he's some sort of shepherd of these like spirits of like maybe like a grim reaper like death sort of situation, but I don't know how it would totally relate to being a shepherd of souls into the afterlife, or like some sort of alternate way to get to the afterlife, or you know, something like that is what I'm picturing, especially with them coming in and out of their him being the supervisor, the like Charon from like Greek mythology, like having the boat that goes down the river Styx to take people to the afterlife. Like he's the one that is like facilitating, okay, this is a portal, and now these shadow people, these entities can go in and out of this portal at will, and he is supervising it, making sure that it goes smoothly, like you touched on before. So I think that's an interesting and like kind of compelling theory of him being like more of a supervisor slash like shepherd role. It would explain why he doesn't really do anything and is just kind of watching you to see what you do, and kind of being intimidating in that sort of sense of just like, you know, he's there, he's making his presence known because he doesn't want you to notice what is going on. And I guess this person noticed what was going on, and then I guess unfortunately for them sealed the mirror, which might have been a pathway that they had been using for some time. So I don't know, that's really interesting. That's a very cool like take on the Hatman thing. But like the Hatman like theories in general, I find it to be particularly compelling, and especially now that I know my sister has seen the Hatman too, and I know she's not like in the paranormal. You know, she's not doing like a bunch of research and watching a bunch of shows about the paranormal. She's just seen it, and I think went so far as researching what it is. Um, because a lot of other people have seen the Hat Man and describe it. It's exactly what happened to her, just standing in a corner looking at her, and she was just like, "Hello, what are you doing?" And then he just leaves. So it's really interesting, but yeah, I told you what I think about it, and I think it's kind of a cool theory.
I do too. I'm gonna bring that up to Dave. Maybe next week and get his, because his theory out. Because, like I said, we've been trying to figure out what connects these people. I mean, these people don't know each other. They don't have the same type of job. Nothing really is in common, except it just seems to be the age. And even that doesn't hold true all the time. You know, sometimes they're 25, sometimes they're 30 before they see him.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really, I wish I could interview him.
I think a lot of
I
people would want to do that.
Yeah, but I actually had Anthony, who is a friend of the show, and a watcher and listener. We brought him on for thing because he is the only one that I've ever found that was part of like this group of kids who conjured the Hat Man on accident.
Whoa.
That was a very, very interesting story. I suggest everybody go back to that episode and listen to his story, because it's amazing. But yeah, it's I don't know. He's an interesting character. But all right, moving on. Go ahead, Sam.
Yes. The next story. Why are paranormal why can't I say that word? Why are paranormal experiences so stigmatized? 4 out of 10 Americans believe in ghosts, yet whenever I see somebody talk about their beliefs or experiences, they are laughed at or called schizophrenic. Why are people so dismissive? People say it's unscientific to believe in them, but is it not just unscientific to deny people's testimony? I like that this person is asking this question because I think it brings up an interesting dilemma that people have of like, so weren't a lot of people in history that had theories as to how the world worked like called crazy at one point, and then they did the work to prove the thing as scientific, and then years later it's just accepted as objective fact. So I personally, in my opinion, I don't think it is problematic to be curious about things we don't know about yet, to have an open mind, and especially with millions, perhaps even billions of people around the world who have had paranormal experiences, very similar ones, to be open-minded and say, well, let's look for it. Let's look for evidence. Let's, you know, I think a good paranormal investigator is going to be, you know, like, I can objectively prove that these things exist. We believe that they exist. We've had personal experiences, but I think we're all, at least me, I'm always looking for that next piece of evidence that will be compelling, or another way that might gather more evidence and gather more interest into formally researching these topics. So I think the paranormal and spirits in general, because there's a lot of other things about the paranormal that is an even deeper hole than just spirits. But I think it's just one of those things that a lot of people, especially that have certain religious ties or even just certain like upbringings, don't want to interact with, and don't want to even explore the possibility that it might be real, that it might have some truth to it, and that makes them come off as dismissive or sometimes outright aggressive towards people that claim to have paranormal experiences. And you know, who know, we don't know exactly what is causing these experiences, if they're spirits, if they are in fact hallucinations, if there are substances or frequencies in our modern world that are causing these experiences. We don't really know, and that's what we're trying to find out. That's what we're trying to explore. So I think it comes down to, we are not in the era yet where enough people are willing to engage with it to start turning it into an accepted science. That's always a process. That's always, you know, throughout history, it took humanity and like the modern world a long time to accept germ theory, for example. That the theory that germs are causing sickness, and if we can find a way to kill the germs we don't want, then it can cure sickness. A lot of people were still doing the four humors theory. A lot of people believed in the miasma theory, and that was accepted as science. That was accepted as objective truth for a long time. But then new discoveries were made, and people started finding out that's not how the world works. So who's to say that there aren't spirits? Who's to say that different dimensions aren't overlapping with each other? Whatever theory that you want to go with, I don't think there's anything wrong with believing in it, as long as you're not, you know, going so deep and so far that it's going to start harming you and others, because that's always a dangerous path to go down. But I believe in spirits. I believe in the afterlife, and you know, the theory that of residual energy. So yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And anybody who is dismissing you is missing the opportunity to discover something really great, or is just stupid, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, that's
All
usually
right, I kind of rambled there, but
No,
that's a
that's all right.
topic I'm very passionate about.
Absolutely. And you were 100% correct in all of it. You know, the thing about it is, especially here in the United States, I can't say about around the world, but I know, especially here in the United States, people choose what they want to believe. And they choose the facts that they're willing to accept.
That's very true.
And then other facts can go away. You know, if it's a fact that they don't want to believe in, then it's not a fact. It's something somebody made up to trick them.
Yeah.
So people don't want to believe that there's something that they cannot explain. And you know as well as I do, especially when we handle with these cases, people are scared shitless until we come in there. We do an investigation. We show them the evidence. We tell them what we believe it is. And all of a sudden they don't care anymore. They're like, oh,
Yeah,
all
it
right.
happens all the time.
Absolutely. And that's because they finally understand. It's that fear of the unknown. And that's been the case for centuries. If you would go back to 1850 and start talking about mobile phones, you'd be burned at the stake as a witch.
Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, I can press a button on this thing and send it across the world with one touch. Immediately, you're a witch. Throw them in the river, see if they float, you know?
Well, fat floats, so I would float. But what is paranormal now in 20, 30, 40 years will be science, because we will find a way to prove and recreate and be able to actually touch the other side, whether we should or not.
We just figured out how to split a freaking atom and absorb more energy out of that atom than we put into splitting it. That's pretty batshit insane. Like, so who's to say, right? Keep an open mind, be curious, don't dismiss things you don't understand, but also don't go on the way the other side of it and like become a fanatic, because no, we aren't into that.
If you break it down, spirits, just like us, we're just different forms of energy. That's all it is. I honestly call spirits conscious energy, as what if they're an intelligent spirit, obviously. And if they're residual, it's still energy. We as living people are just different forms of energy. That's all we have to do. That's all science has to do, is find a way to dig into that type of energy and be able to focus that type of energy. But, until then, it's obviously considered the paranormal, and that's fine. That's fine for us, but for some people, obviously, it is not. I mentioned earlier in the show about how as a rookie, I encountered somebody like this, and that it was the first fair that Chisago City was putting on. It was like Chi County, so I can't pronounce it, but was putting on. It was just this outdoor little fair, like almost like a flea market. Just people had tents and thing in this little town square. And the team that I was on, Moondance Paranormal, had a booth. And I was sitting there with Steve, and a guy just kind of, we weren't talking to him, we weren't doing anything, but he walked past, he stopped, he looked at us, and he laughed, and he said, let me know if you talk to Elvis. And then continued to laugh and walked away. And I remember being angry. Like, what the hell is that guy's problem? Like, you didn't have to stop. You didn't have to say anything, but he chose to, because I don't know, he wanted to bring us down or something. But Steve just chuckled with them and is like, I would like to talk to him too. And I was like, oh, is that the way we handle that? I don't even think I'd handle that now.
Yeah, it's one way to handle it, that's for sure.
But it has been something that we in the paranormal have had to deal with forever. But the good part about it is that because of Ghost Hunters, because of all of these shows, because of all of the evidence that is coming out, because of the books that are written now by everybody, it has been driven so much into the mainstream now that if it's almost, I don't even know what the ratio would be now. But I would think you would find more people who would be willing to either accept it or allow you to just talk about it or have that theory without judgment than they would be like, you're flipping nuts. I had a coworker who called me the spook chaser, laughed his ass off every time that he called it, made fun of me all the time. He's like, "Are you gonna go spook chasing this weekend?" And and I would answer him serious because I know he was just joking around with me. But the one time I was like, "You want to come with?" No.
Why
So,
not?
exactly. If it's such a joke, you shouldn't be scared of that. But that is what you will find. You will find that people will make fun of you or they'll laugh at you. They'll be like, why do they'll challenge you or whatever. But when it comes time to like put up or shut up, they'll shut up and walk away. Because goddamn, they do not want to put up. Because then they would have to scream like a little girl.
Yeah.
If a rat ran by them and there's a crawler on the floor.
Yeah, God forbid they see a crawler. That would be a life-changing experience for them, I think.
Yep.
I mean, I don't like them either. But
well, I've never encountered one. So I've been in places where that's been a quote unquote story, but I've never seen one. But with only 3 minutes till 8, and our guest's been patiently waiting for like a half hour now.
A half hour?
Well, I've just been listening to the show. I told him he wasn't coming on till 8.
Well, thanks for listening.
Absolutely. But instead of going to our fifth story, I say we start.
Sure. I'm very okay with that.
All right. If he's done with his cigarette. Nope, he's not. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, a good friend of ours who we have encountered many times, who is a paranormal investigator of C&H Paranormal, I believe I have that correct, and is the caretaker of the Farrar Schoolhouse, which we have frequented many, many times, who is coming to us live from his local Walmart parking lot, which is completely Iowan, I might add.
Yeah.
But is, and I told him that I would add this. He is part of the reigning Paranormal Feud Championship team, who will be at some point later this year defending that title. But ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Will Conkel. Hello, Will.
Wow.
Hey guys.
Hello.
What's up? Yeah, Walmart has better signal than my house does, so.
That's quite all right.
That's I just came back from central Wisconsin, and I have Verizon, and that is the only place I've ever been to where I get no signal ever.
Yeah. This is so redneck, but that's me. I'm so redneck I had to Google focaccia.
Yeah. It's some good Italian bread. That's what it is.
Some Italian flatbread. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
See, is this a no smoking show or something? Come on, guys.
No, I just it also is very Iowan.
Yeah.
No, that's all right.
You want me to be me, right?
I
absolutely.
I absolutely want you to be you, Bill. So I am going to start with a 2-part question that will probably take you at least 10 minutes to answer.
Or more.
So obviously you've mentioned Farrar Schoolhouse, which you are the caretaker of. Can you give us just some of the history of the schoolhouse itself, and as part 2, how you became involved, how you became the caretaker of the school? Because I know it's in the middle of flipping nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
And it until obviously now it's more mainstream than it was back when I first went there. Not a lot of people knew it even existed.
Right. Well, first off, I want to add that I'm one of 4 caretakers. Okay. My wife and 2 daughters, Chelsea and Caitlin, are the other 3. And I'm just the face of, so they make me look really good. They make me look great. They do all the hard stuff. I just talk about it because I talk too much. Well, the school initially started out as a K through 12, which was Washington Consolidated School District. And when they built it, they moved all the one-room schoolhouses throughout the county to the property and began to build it. And class commenced in 1922 on April Fool's Day. And she ran K through 12 until 1958, when they merged with Honduras, and Bondurant became Bondurant School District. And at that point, they went 4th through 6th elementary school, and ran 4th through 6th until I believe it was 2004 when they just closed the doors, and that was the history of the educational facility. The Olivers, there was 2 people, and I believe Nancy's daughter was one of they were a theatrical company, a group that was looking at it. And so Nancy and Jim went to look at it, and Nancy just fell right in love with it. And she put a bid in over her daughter's group and then won the bid. And they bought the schoolhouse. And what they were going to do with the schoolhouse was they had their own business. They always say documented, did audio visual for weddings and such. And they were going to run their business out of it. And ironically, when she fell in love with it, she didn't realize the cemetery across the street had some of her family members in it. She had no idea. And later on in the show, I'll have a different story of fate. That's kind of a fate story right there. They bought it, settled in, was going to start doing some things to do their business, and a local psychic named Jackie Carpenter that lives in Maxwell. Now, Farrar is an unincorporated town, so it has a Maxwell address, but Maxwell is probably a good maybe 10 minutes away. Actual Maxwell, Iowa. So local psychic Jackie Carpenter was driving by on the way home, and she felt something inside the building and pulled in, knocked on the door, talked with Nancy, said, "Nancy, I feel like something's going on here." At that time, the Olivers had no idea about this. Nancy, Jackie says, "Hey, listen, can I come in with my team and investigate this?" And she said, "Well, yeah, sure." So Jackie and Jackie's team and Nancy and her sister all came in, did some investigating. And one of the things they got a few things, but one of the greatest things was they all went into the bathroom. Now Jackie's team's full of girls, right? They all went into the boys' bathroom on the 2nd floor, and they got an EVP, what you want to call the first evidence of something going on there was a little boy, his voice in disgust, saying, "She's in the bathroom." So he had a bunch of girls in the boys' bathroom, and he wasn't very happy about it. And
girls have cooties. So
yes, they do, of course.
So they need to stay out of the men's bathroom.
I've been married for quite some time. They do have cooties. It's true. But Jackie then urged Jim and Nancy to open the doors so people can experience this. What people like to think, especially y'all were talking about non-believers and things, especially the non-believers, they think it's just a cash cow. Jim and Nancy are not rich people. Most of what they do make goes back into the building to keep it running. Take some money out in the middle of nowhere, a building that size to keep it running. So they took her advice and opened the door, and the rest is history. Hit the ground running, and there's people. I let in a group. Wasn't really a group. It was a guy and a girl from Australia, YouTubers traveling, and they got an episode on their YouTube channel of Farrar. So it's worldwide. But yeah, the schoolhouse. Prior to the schoolhouse being there, of course, it was the Geddes family property. Before that, it was it's documented that the creek that's called Byers Branch Creek that runs it runs north to south, west to east around the property. It was a branch of the Underground Railroad. An Illinois preacher man bought the land of Farrar, Maxell, and Elkhart. Didn't live there. He lived in Bondurant, but he used that land to free slaves. Prior to that, it was the Bacojay Indians that were settled on the land. They didn't own the land, of course. Indians don't own land. They worship the land. They care for the land. So there's all kinds of energy. The Indian spirits, man. You don't want to just mess with them. But we have a tree out front. I'm probably stepping on some of your other questions coming up. But we have a tree out front. Her name's Grandmother Oak. Huge tree. All this time I find out I didn't name her, but I've been offending a 265-year-old elm tree. But her name's still Grandmother Oak. Gives off an energy that I had a fantastic experience with. Probably one of the most moving experiences I've had since becoming caretaker. We can get into that some other time or later on. But now, as far as becoming caretaker, I believe it was 2014, 2015. I worked at an HVAC company as a field technician. And one of the sales reps calls me one day, knowing that, I have a fondness for the paranormal. At that point in time, I wasn't a paranormal investigator. I was watching the stupid TV shows and finding interest in it. He calls me and says, "Hey, listen, you know what? I just want to let you know, I just did a bid out in this little town called Farrar to put an air conditioner in the gymnasium. And it's haunted." I go, "Haunted? I mean, it's not, it's like April. What, they're getting ready for Halloween already?" What? He said, "No, with ghosts, real ones." I said, "You kidding me?" Because at the time, that was like 20 minutes from my house. Never heard of it. I told him, "You know what? Bid it low and I'll do it for free." Of course, he didn't. We didn't get the job. Now I'm fixing it for free. So he told me about it. I told my kids, and they were excited. They booked a night for me for Father's Day. And so I called Jim and Nancy. I was talking to Nancy, actually, and booking a night. And at that point in time, I was trying to break away to be a private contractor. So I had this job I was doing in Des Moines, just totally remodeling this house for this lady. We gutted the top floor. We changed the footprint on it, right? Turns out it was haunted as hell. So it took us 4 months on that house to get her done. And you got to believe that every night at cleanup, we were there for about 3-4 more hours trying to hone our little investigative skills. trying things that we seen on TV, things we heard. It was a blast. So I called Nancy and booking the night, and I'm telling her, you know, hey, listen, I'm a private contractor doing this house, you know, and you got to understand, Jim and Nancy, they don't mind hearing the stories and stuff, but being the owners of a haunted schoolhouse, that's all they hear is ghost stuff, right? And sometimes you want to hear about the person's freaking cat or something, you know.
Yeah.
You don't want to hear the ghost story. Tell me about your dog. But I'm telling her about this haunted house and what we're finding and all this. And anybody that's ever heard this story heard it 20,000 times. All she heard was Charlie Brown's teacher. Wah, 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 private contractor, wah, 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 construction trade, wah, 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 right? So I booked a night, I hang up. A couple days later, Nancy calls me, says, hey, Will, Jim and I've got a couple projects we want to have you look at, give us a bid on. And, you know, I kept my composure, I kept my cool. And when we hung up, I danced around like a schoolgirl, you know, yay! So me and my son go, and she takes us up on the auditorium, in the auditorium up on the stage, and shows me the wall, and the plaster's all breaking down. And I told her, okay, here's the deal: your roof's leaking. If you don't get that fixed, you're not going to have any walls, and you won't have a building. You buy the material and we'll do it for free. And they took me up on that. I've had the front door keys ever since. Me and my daughters, my son, and my nieces, we all went up there one day just slapping mud and aluminum paint. We got that sealed up good. And I became the building engineer of Farrar at that time. My good friend and brother from another mother, Seth Olney and CCPI, they were running the paranormal side, the ghost hunts and things at that time. And he at one point, he stepped down. He had enough. And Jim asked me to do it. And I called Seth, and I needed his blessing, you know. And he said, yeah, go for it, man. Do it all. So we hit the ground running. Jim says, here's how green I was. Jim says, you're going to need a paranormal team name. No, I don't. He says, yeah, you do. All right, CNH Paranormal. You're going to need a T-shirt. No, I don't. Okay. So I made up a little logo, CNH with Stay Puffed on it. There's your shirt. There we go. So Stay Puft's been our mascot ever since. But then we started doing study halls and things, and making new friends every day, and it's been a blast. So that's how I became a caretaker. And you know, it's a lot. A caretaker, being a caretaker and being a paranormal investigator is two different things. Because caretaker, you're in there all hours of the day. Paranormal investigator, you book schoolhouse, you punch out, go home. Mm-hmm. It's in your face all the time. And the saddening thing is that since it's in your face all the time, the paranormal becomes the normal, and you get bored with it sometimes. Yeah, I already seen that. Do something new. You know, but yeah, so that's, I hope I answered that question good. I don't know.
Absolutely.
Yes, indeed.
What else you got, buddy?
You got something, Sam?
So I wanted to ask you, because we touched on earlier of how
I like your brain, by the way. Golly, I got to bring a thesaurus next time, so I know what you're asking.
Hey, my brain's a sponge. I absorb everything,
and then he forgets it,
and then I forget it. Yeah. My brain decides to remember some things and disregard other things that are also important. But I wanted to ask you, because we touched on earlier how Michael's experience of the building has changed over the years. Do you want to comment on how you think the building has changed over the years, especially now since, it was a location that wasn't really well known, and now it's very well known to the point where like really, really big TV shows have been in there?
Yeah. First off, the TV shows, that's another thing Caretaker does too. The TV shows, if you look at the TV shows as entertainment, they're really fun to watch. But if you're looking at it as like scientific based proof and stuff, you're gonna be mad. Yeah. To me, myself, I've been trying to get my wife out front and my daughters for these shows, because I'm getting tired of it. I don't like the production machine. But to me, everything that I thought I knew going into the school, the schoolhouse taught me different as a paranormal. And then, oddly enough, later in my life there, it changed it up on me. So everything I thought I knew before, I don't know anything. I'm learning again. If you keep the mentality that you really don't know anything, you think you do, you'd probably be better off. That's what the schoolhouse has taught me. It keeps changing up. Now, as far as it getting more mainstreams and bookings get more and more, of course, the last 2 years has been rough on bookings. Not to the point of they just stopped booking, because they did all right. The schedule's still there, but it seems to be getting more and more now, like you said, because it's been on mainstream.
Mm-hmm.
People, the more and more people bring in, they bring some baggage and occasionally leave them behind, I've always been told that the schoolhouse was like, to look at the schoolhouse. A couple different psychics told me this at one point, that to look at the schoolhouse as a train station or an airport. You have the normal people that work there, and then you have your travelers come back, just passing through. That, in my opinion, became more and more. There has been occasionally some darkness that's come through, not evil, darkness. You both know that there's a great big vast valley between evil and darkness. And at that point, then we clean house on that. I got my dear friends that are the ministers of the haunted, or moth. They're my cleansers. They deal with darkness, and I go through with them. But yeah, that's probably the change. More and more people come through, the more and more different spirits I see.
So I have two questions. First one.
But you've always got two questions.
I do.
I better light another one. Go ahead.
I've actually got several, but I'm going to start with these two.
Okay.
Because they're what we've already pretty much talked about. So the psychic that first showed up, what was her name again?
Jackie Carpenter.
Okay, I was going to say, I thought it was Jacqueline, but yeah, Jackie.
That's the wife's name.
So she shows up, she brings in her team. They get like one EVP, or whatever they got for evidence, that investigation. And her reaction to that is, you should open this door to a whole bunch more people. What was her reasoning behind that? Because as an investigator myself, especially after one investigation, that would be the last thing that I would suggest to do to a haunted location. You know, especially one, if you had a psychic ability to sense these spirits, why would you do that to them? Like, why would you, I don't want to say like disgrace or whatever the property by bringing in random strangers to mess with them. But I mean, what was her reasoning behind suggesting to Nancy to just, why don't you just go ahead and open the door and bring in more people?
Well, I can only speak. You said you had two. You want me to answer that one first?
Yes.
Okay. I can only answer to what I believe the motive was. And I don't believe it was actually a motive, but you've been there. You know, the schoolhouse is more of a personal haunting, meaning it's going to give each individual their own experience. Now, you can share somebody's experience, but the long story of it, your experience is going to be your own. And Farrar, if you go into Farrar with a clean heart and an open mind and good intentions, you're going to have a great experience. If you go in otherwise, like that big name guy on Travel Channel, I generally call him something else.
That's all right. Me too. You're among friends, Will.
Yeah, but you go rolling in there like that, you're going to have an experience. You're not going to like it, and it ain't going to last very long. It'll go dormant on you. So in my opinion, I don't know 110% what her thoughts were, but I kind of know her heart. My opinion was, as you said, she's a psychic, and she was pretty good. It was her and one other psychic that changed my mind on psychics, because I didn't believe in any of it. I thought it was all a dog and pony show. But in my opinion, she knew the heart of Farrar. She knew what people were going to get out of it. Does that answer your question?
Yes. I have a small follow up to that. That's not my second question. So she knew what people were going to get at. Now, living people or the spirits?
I would say living people. It's my opinion that the spirits are going to take care of matters in their own way. You know, they're not going to be affected. I think you said something earlier to the point of we're all energy afterwards. You know, I when I go in and I'm by myself, I always tell them, you know what, if they're being dicks, excuse my French, I make them believe it's not haunted. Go away. Sticks and stones can no longer break your bones. If they're being dicks, just don't react. I say it all the time to them. So more the people than the spirits. The spirits, she knows the spirits. We all know the spirits. They're okay.
Okay. All right. So second question I had then, and Sam kind of talked about it a little bit, and you did as well with your answer to him about how things have changed. So when I first went there, and this was like 8 years ago, something like that. Farrar wasn't well known. No TV shows had been there. I never heard of it. It was a birthday party dual event with Farrar and Edinburgh for Chad Kalick. And
miss that guy.
Well, he's from Iowa, so I mean that's why he was having his birthday there. I've been to a couple of his events. They're always fun. So that was my first experience with Farrar. First time I had ever been there. And we were told stories of the spirit known as the principal was a former principal who was there because, he had gotten caught molesting children, and this was like his penance. This was his purgatory. And then like one of the janitors, former janitors or whatever, was also there for almost the exact same thing. And so we spent like that entire night. Well, I should say that entire night. But we spent most of the night either consoling the children, spirits that were there, or going after these two spirits. And we got some phenomenal evidence. A 45-second long EVP, which is still one of my favorites ever, was caught in the auditorium there that night. Still play it to this day at presentations. It's amazing. So then later, with other times that we had been there, found out none of those stories were true whatsoever. There is a spirit that they called the principal, but it was brought in. It was invited in, brought in, whatever, by people, as you said, that came in and left their baggage or did Ouija board sessions or, whatever, and kind of took up residency there. We were told that the room on the third floor, obviously at the end of the hallway, was like the principal's office, and found out very recently it was just a storage room. It wasn't the principal's office at all. So my question is, how do you, like as a tour guide, as kind of like I don't want to say like the face of Farrar, but how do you distinguish between what is real and what is made up myth to make the building look cooler? Or don't you even try anymore?
Well, first off, I've been a part of the schoolhouse for quite some time now. So when I hear something, and especially if it's coming from a person that's been there once or twice, okay, I'll listen respectfully. And if it's something bad, I'll just listen respectfully, and then just write it off to, okay, everything. Because to me, the investigators that know everything are the ones that I don't want to talk to. I can't learn from them, and I want to continue learning till the day I die. And the day I die is when I find out I was wrong all along, on everything.
That's pretty much what it's going to come down to. Yeah,
it is. Till we're ghosts, or a ghost pulls a press conference. We don't know anything. We think we know a lot. That being said, I do listen intently to people in our study halls. We call them study halls, our little public ghost hunting events. We always have a co-host. I want to learn from them. They learn from us if they can. But I've been part of the schoolhouse long enough to know the schoolhouse and the entities that are in it. I will know quickly if it's an entity that doesn't belong. If it's dark, I'm going to get rid of it. If it isn't, it can be. I'm not going to scare off something that isn't. But basically, the history of the land and the schoolhouse helps me in deciphering things. Okay, the history is everything to me. To me, the land is haunted, and the schoolhouse just is. Yeah. Like a brand new house put on a haunted land is gonna get haunted.
Yep.
I had something else. Golly, I missed it.
Happens to me all the time.
Yeah. But as I said, somebody's been there once or twice, and I've been here this long. Again, I don't know everything. I will listen respectfully. Most of the time, I'll just kind of hang on to it back here for later use. Should need be. But for the most part, and this year is going to be a little bit different than that because we've been away for probably 2 years. Been there, but backed away a little bit because, as you probably noticed, been going through some mentally challenging things in my life, and I believe that if you're any kind of emotion except for happy, then you shouldn't investigate because you're weak. So I made the mental choice to just back off for a little while, and I'm feeling good now. I'm able to look at old memories of loved ones and smile and laugh now, So we're picking up events for CNH, for study hall events this coming this year, and gonna just hopefully a lot of new faces, to try to guide them and like you said in your first segment, try to guide them and walk away from the TV, be able to talk to people about it, because I grew up in the 80s in haunted houses. You didn't talk to anybody, you couldn't talk to anybody because you were completely insane then. Now with the onset of all these TV shows, the entertainment TV shows, you're able to talk about it. People are more fascinated by it, even if they're scared and don't want to join in. I like to listen. Yeah, I got a co-worker in the front office at work asked me a question what I thought about orbs, just because she knows she's on my Facebook. In those type things, what do you believe it is? I'll always ask what somebody else believes it is before I give them my answer. And if my answer differs, I'll generally just, no, that's a good answer, and just shut up because I don't want to crush somebody's beliefs. What do you think it is? Me, orbs, not excited.
That's pretty much our team philosophy about it.
Yeah. If you are, then good for you.
I've got to say that's where we differ. I'm more than happy to destroy their beliefs in orbs.
So you want to act like that non-believer? Sure.
No, I would point out that it's probably dust. I would point out that it is, could be a bug. And, and as Sam said earlier, it's different if they're seeing it with their naked eye. If they're telling you, I have this nanny cam or whatever that, at 3 a.m. there was a bunch of orbs that suddenly through, past the camera, I'd be like, it's dust. I'm like, I wouldn't worry about it. But go ahead.
No, I was going to say, if it's a picture taken at the schoolhouse, I'd respectfully give them my opinion. But if I wasn't there and I didn't take the picture, I'm going to be respectful. And I'm going to let them believe what they want to believe. Unless they ask me. If they flat out ask me, this is what I think it is. What do you think? It'd be different. Most of the people, they just want to show me the picture and have me go ooh and ah,
Yeah.
And then
that's usually how it works.
Yeah. If they think that's Uncle Bob, okay. I believe my family comes back to say hi as a cardinal, Yeah. So
go ahead, Sam.
Oh gosh. Now I have to remember what I wanted to ask.
I rambled too long. I do apologize, sir.
Well, no,
No,
that's totally fine. I
that's
was
what
just intently listening to what you were saying.
I would say that's what you're here to do. You're here to ramble.
Oh,
Oh yeah.
okay.
So I wanted to ask you, because I'm very much a person that's always interested in the day-to-day activities. So what would you say your like day-to-day is like being a caretaker? I know it's probably not what you do 100% of the time, but like
Mhm.
what are the logistics of like how do you keep a building like that is like huge, was once like, you know, a service provided to the city, but is now like a recreational location?
Right.
How do you go about
101,
keeping up that building?
101-year-old building.
Yeah.
Uh, well, you know, I told you the first thing we did was fix the roof. That was winning the battle right there. Uh, Now, being in Iowa, the humidity in the summertime and no air conditioning in the building, the plasters,
Yeah.
we just got to kind of, with broken heart, let the plaster go at times, because that's going to be a large project. Uh, but not only are we caretakers, I'm still basically building engineer. If there's a project that needs to be done, I get her done. So we also, being caretakers, we open the schoolhouse and we close the schoolhouse for the season. To do so, to open it, of course, we got to clean it. And the worst thing ever about letting people in, we have it staged as a schoolhouse. There's desks in there now. Each classroom looks like a classroom when you walk into it.
Mm-hmm.
And what people do, and they book the schoolhouse, come in, they grab a chair from the second floor, take it up to the auditorium, and then they leave it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Every time I open the door to a group and I give them a tour, I ask them, I say, hey, you can take anything anywhere in the schoolhouse, that's fine, but please bring it back. Because if you don't, we do. So that's an ongoing, never going to change thing.
Yep.
We got to go in. We got to put everything back together. And my wife, she's anal retentive. She's ADD. She'll line them desks up, and you can put a level and a square on them, and they'll just look beautiful, right? And she'll walk into a room, and one desk is cocked just a little bit. She'll just lose her mind. And I don't blame her, man. She puts a lot of heart into it, and we all do.
Apparently, she agrees with you.
Oh yeah, what she got there? Those laugh and cry faces.
Yeah.
But we clean it up. We do a really thorough clean before we open it in March, and then we close her down. We just put everything back together, and we got projects like we took because in Iowa, and when we're closed down in the winter, we don't want to run the heat all the time. It's LP, that'll just eat that tank right up real fast. So we changed all the copper water line into the building to PEX, because that freezes, it'll expand, but then it'll be fine. It won't burst. So we did that. Jacqueline got her first taste of PEX then, and she's running all 3/4 line in there. She's having a little issue. Yells up at me, "Hey, can you come help me? I can't get this crimped very well." And she hears a voice saying, "I'll do it." But the bastard never did it. I still had to go all the way down there and do it. It's a disembodied voice, that kind of stuff happens all the time when you're there. It doesn't matter. For the listeners, you guys know, it doesn't matter. Time is irrelevant to ghosts and spirits. It doesn't matter what time of day you're going in there. The place is haunted. There's spirits there. disembodied voices. You see the shadow man. And to kind of answer to your principal thing, people, because it's a schoolhouse, they'll put the tag principal, janitor, what have you, because it's a schoolhouse. They don't know what it is. We do have one principal there. In a 101-year-old schoolhouse, there were many principals that went through it, not just one janitor. We have one principal there, and he's a good guy. He's kind of a protector of the children's spirits that are there. I pulled a favor from the spirit world one night when we were having an event there. It was the most awesome thing I ever had. We were talking to this young kid, and through spirit box, and an older kid come out. And how this was so stupid, and cussing up a storm. And then the younger one went away. So I looked at it kind of like an upperclassman messing on the younger kid. And we weren't done talking to the younger kid. So I said, Mr. Principal, I know his full name, but I won't give it. It took me 3 months to get it. I'm not going to just give it out.
That's fair.
Yeah. But he likes to be known as Mr. Principal. He likes his title. So I yelled out, "Hey, Mr. Principal!" He comes with, "Yeah." I told him, "Hey, this kid's bugging us. We want to talk to the other kid. Can you get rid of him?" He said, "Sure." He went away, and the little kid came back. I thought, this is freaking awesome, man. But basically, walking through the halls, to get back to your question, basically walk through the halls, cleaning, doing any projects, all hours of the day. We get to test a lot of things. And again, a lot of the things that people would make them stop in their tracks, I keep walking now because I've already seen that. Yeah. Wish they come out with different tricks sometimes, but they're not trained monkeys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're not there for our entertainment. They're just
No,
going about their business.
No, they aren't. You be respectful, you'll get respect. That's what I found out.
So now I have two again. I'm sorry. I only had one.
That's okay.
But what you just said brought on another thing, because it's something that we feel that we have trouble with all the time, because any location that we go into, we are always respectful, and we only want to be respectful.
Yeah.
So, but I always think that we come with one of those, like, your reputation precedes you type of thing. Not that for us specifically, but like the ghost hunter stigma. So, if the spirits have to deal with, jackass after jackass after jackass, because they do feel that the spirits are there for their entertainment. And if they don't get their personal experience, they get angry, or, they get, aggressive and that kind of stuff. And we never do. But how do you feel the spirits react to something like that? If they have multiple jackasses after a while, and then you have a team like ours that come in, we're not interested in that. Are they just going to be like, here comes another one, let's go do this tonight, and we'll just let them do their thing? Or do you think that they actually do take it as a case by case? Because
go ahead.
Oh, I say, because the reason why I told Sam, and we talked about this earlier, that things have changed, is that very first night that we were there 8 years ago was very active. We had them reacting to temperature. We had people having personal experiences, always respectful. It wasn't provoked. It was always requested and asked for. And, but ever since then, after it became popular and even more popular, it's always become quieter and quieter and quieter. And in fact, the only thing that has really, really happened is that that dark entity that you were talking about earlier, that people had named the principal, not Mr. Principal, but that dark entity.
Yeah.
Those were like the negative experiences, and it wasn't no more was it talking to the children, or even though we were asking, we'd like to talk to children, we'd like to play with the children, we like to read a book to the children. We wouldn't get any reaction whatsoever. And so I was kind of taking this as they've gotten so tired of people coming in over and over and over again, wanting them to turn tricks for them, that when you have a team that really wants to interact, just talk, just get their perception on things, they ignore them. I mean, have you found that to be the case?
I think it's case by case. I mean, if you look at it like this, you got this one friend that comes over and he just annoys the hell out of you all the time, but you don't want to be rude and send him away.
Yeah,
but
yeah. Just kidding.
He just keeps coming over. But Aunt Brenda, you love her. You feel good when she comes over. You're not gonna just shut the door and you're not gonna talk with anybody the rest of your life. Good energy is good energy. They know. I believe, in my opinion, in my heart, they know intent. They know intent as soon as you hit that front door, and probably while you're on the way to the schoolhouse. They know what your intent is, and they know whether they're going to interact or they're going to shut you down. That's my opinion. And opinions vary, but we can still go in anytime, and who knows, maybe it's a matter of who we are, how we've been connected with them for so long. But I still hear good things coming out of the schoolhouse on bookings. Another thing is too, like if you want to go in and bring your equipment in here and get scientific proof, that might not work. I find that. I tell everybody, you know what? Unless you're writing a book or trying to document proof of it, put your equipment down, because the personal experience is going to be mind-blowing. But go ahead and try your equipment. If you find you're not getting anything and you're getting discouraged, put it down. Put it down and go sit in the dark, because that's when your experience will really truly happen. I used to make my own equipment. I was trying all this stuff, and I would get some things, Then I married my wife for her equipment, because she was on a paranormal team. And so I married her for her. It's her paranormal equipment now.
Of course.
And yeah, and my thing was always audio. That was my thing. I'm talking to something that I cannot physically see, and I'm getting answers. That was my thing. Now, the wife will say, "We gotta get equipment ready." I'm going, no, we don't. But I find if I leave equipment alone and I just go in there with my heart and my mind open, I'm gonna have a great time. For the longest time, I was wide open to the tree, my grandmother oak. I was wide open to the schoolhouse. And then things got in the way, put up blocks. And for the longest time, I couldn't see, hear, or feel anything, It all has to do with the person and their mindset, which is a good argument for non-believers, I guess, But it's personal. For our schoolhouse, is personal. And if you book the schoolhouse, you come in with good good spirits and you come in and you do the same thing every time, that could probably squash your experiences too. You know, we already jumped through that hoop. We don't want to do that anymore.
Okay.
My thoughts. Yeah.
So there's a story that you had. I'm sure you told many people this, but I was one of the people that you told on one of my trips there. And I actually believe it was one of the times you would come on the show. You told this story. And I've loved this story. And I want to know, not only do I want you to tell it, but I want to know if there's any updates to it. And that is that for a while, at least, as far as I'm aware of, there was a black, I don't want to say black as in dark, but like a black mass that was 6'6" or whatever. And
Shadow Man.
Right. That would, mess with your wife and whatnot. And you got told something by John Tenney that I found amazing. And I would just like to have, without me giving away what was said, I would just like to have you tell that story. And if there's any update to it, what that is.
Okay. So a lot of people know, they may not know that I met my wife there doing a tour. I invited her to our team. I proposed to her there, and I married her on the stage of Farrar. Okay. And John Tenney officiated our wedding. And anyone that has caught the Farrar episode of Ghost Stalkers, it was freaking great. John Tenney seen the Shadow Man up on the 3rd floor and reacted poorly.
I remember I watched that episode. He even did a sketch of it.
Yep. And ironically, he gave us that sketch, not a copy, for our wedding present. So we have that picture. And the best part was him saying, "I'm having fun." So he came all the way from Michigan to officiate our wedding. And me and the wife sitting out. I thought it was her wedding day. She disagrees. And maybe she's right because she was standing there. I didn't see her on the wedding day. So maybe it was the day before or something. But he says, I have a theory now, and it's different from when he first experienced him. He says, I have a theory on the Shadow Man. You want to hear? It's going to blow your mind. I don't have a mind. I'm getting married. So he says, when you die, and you can go anywhere you want, and I was hoping I wasn't going to die today because I'm getting married. And he said, why not any time you want? Why is he 6'9"? Because that's how tall I am for the listeners. I'm 6'9". He's kind of got the same build as me, as a Shadow Man. Same height. He doesn't care much for provocation. I don't either. He's grabbed my wife's butt. I can see myself doing that. And he messes with me. And I could kind of see myself doing that. I've never got audio from him. Never knew who he was. But John Tenney believes it's future me come back to haunt this time. Pretty wild.
Do you agree with him?
I don't know. It's a good working theory. I don't really know. I am a Leo, so I tend to want to believe that. I've seen him several times. One of the best freaking experiences I had is me and the team sometimes we go to the schoolhouse, let our hair down, and just investigate rather than work. It's a lot of work putting on an event. And at the end of an event, you're just so thankful it's over. Let's go home and sleep for 4 days, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we're there this one night. I'm out in the hallway by myself. My wife's in the auditorium, cleared to one end by herself like she does. And her 2 daughters are up on the stage. And I'm out at the locker. I'm about, I don't know, let's say 10, 12 feet from the shadow man standing at the top of the stairs. And I'm just staring him down, thinking, okay, yeah, this is cool. And as I go to turn away from him, because paranormal is the normal, getting bored with the 6'9" shadow man. That's very sad to say. I hear my wife. She says, "Did you just hear a little girl giggle?" And as she's saying that, I'm doing a turn around, go ahead, head the other way, in the middle doorway of the auditorium. My daughter Chelsea does a quick on and off with the flashlight like she's going to see a ghost or something. As she turns that on, the light's coming through the crack of the door. I turn into a 4-foot tall, solid apparition of a little girl. It's like a girl was right there. I could see the lace on her shoulders, what looked like maybe a dress. I could see strands of hair like she had bedhead. And when I seen that, I've never been afraid in ghost hunting. I've never had fear, but I've been startled because I didn't expect that. I turned into a solid apparition of a little girl, and I did a quick left jump into the metal locker. Bang! And then I dropped my hands down on my knees, and I'm trying to process what just happened. And the girls didn't. They just heard a bang in silence. And then I hear them, and then I just start laughing like a schoolgirl at my reaction. And I had that same reaction twice. I've seen her twice. But, yeah, the shadow man. I can look at a shadow man and get bored with it, but a 4-foot solid apparition of a little girl freaks me out.
It takes all kinds, Will.
Yes, sir.
That's amazing. So there's no actual proof that you've come up with recently that would either prove or deny that maybe that shadow man is in fact you from.
No, I can't confirm nor deny. I don't know. That's Kenny, man, every time he opens his mouth, he just blows my mind. Every time. I'll tell the listeners, if you ever get a chance to sit through a John Tenney lecture, do it. It's well worth the money. It's crazy.
Nice. All right. So we only have a couple minutes left. There's a couple things that I want to do. But first, you mentioned study halls and that they have some. If anybody would like to be a part of the study hall or come to a study hall, do you have any dates, or where would they be able to go to find those dates?
Okay. Our first one right now, solid, because the tickets are for sale, is March 25th. They go to haunting@farrar.com, FARRAR.com, and purchase tickets there. And we have 2 other study halls and then a Halloween event in October. I can't think of the dates of the other 2, but you can go to the website and see it. You can go to CNH Paranormal on Facebook and find that information as well.
Sweet.
Free pizza, right, too, by the way.
Ooh. Worth the price of admission right there.
Oh, yeah.
That's all you're really buying a ticket for. Talk about the paranormal and eat pizza.
Yeah, just come in, eat some pizza, go home.
Sounds like an amazing time.
Yeah.
The other thing that I would work with has nothing to do with Farrar whatsoever, but it came in just as I was introducing you, and didn't want to double back. But I just want to put this up really quick that Lynn put in there about what we were talking about with the stigmatism of talking about the paranormal. And I just want to respond to that by saying, you ever want to talk paranormal, go ahead and send us a message. Lynn, you got a friend right here with Sam and myself and my team. So anytime you have something going on that you would like to discuss, we're here for you.
Yeah,
you reach out to me too.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll tell you, when you find people that you feel comfortable sharing those things around, keep those people close to you, because there's a lot of people in the paranormal world that aren't as easy to talk to as we are about it for various reasons. So yeah,
I want to go Dr. Phil. I want to go Dr. Phil on that one guy. Let your wife cuddle you, for God's sakes.
Well, apparently he doesn't like it very much because they sleep in different rooms.
Yeah.
So apparently, the only people that I've ever known that have done that are still together and very much in love was my grandma and grandpa, and that was because my grandpa snored so loud it drove my grandma crazy.
Hey, that might be it.
My stepdad and mom same way. Because he snores too much.
Well, now they have machines for that. So
yes.
I have one. But all right. Well, that does it for us this week. Will, thank you so much for coming on. Love.
Thanks for asking.
Absolutely. We'll see you later in the year when you get to defend your Paranormal Feud title, so championship title. We'll find somebody that's gonna really give you a run for your money.
Okay. Good.
So, all right. Well, that does it for us. Sam, thank you for coming on and being my co-host this week.
Always a pleasure. It's always a great time.
Absolutely. So we'll be back next week, where I believe Dave will be back, and we'll have another amazing episode. Again, if anybody has any questions or stories they would like to share with us, OdysseyFilesRadio@gmail.com. We're here for you. But until then, stay healthy, stay safe. We want to see you back here next week. Everyone, have a great night.